Today I am going to explain to you how to start a construction business. You might be surprised why a woman is giving you tips on how to start construction business. I am giving you that because I do have experience in the building industry, and I wish to share with you this because I think it will stop you making mistakes. So, I am a big advocate of a proper preparation for venture of any type. So, for instance, if you are wishing to open a construction business, there are things that you need to be aware. There are things that you need to get yourself ready for in order to avoid any pitfalls. So the first thing is to plan. So you need to plan out what you really want to do within the construction industry. Is it property development? Because you are a business owner, you are good at negotiating, you've got a vision, and you are very passionate about creating buildings and releasing them for sale to people who want to live in them or maybe purchase them for investment purposes. The other aspect of the construction industry is choosing one of the niches that are part of the construction business. So if you have, for instance, skills, if you are a bricklayer or a plasterer or a joiner or painter and decorator, each of those niches will have their own specific way to prepare, to market, and to do the business. So let's concentrate a little bit on each of those areas. And number one, let's start with a construction business who is working with architects, with property developers. Because as you know, or you may not know, but within UK, the construction industry is based upon subcontractors. Large building companies, they usually directly employ people who are at the higher tier. So they would have their own health and safety manager or site supervisor. They would have their own engineers. They would have their own staff, office staff. They would have their own banksmen, etc. However, all the actual physical work, so the groundwork, the electrical work, the painting and decorating, the structure of the core structure of each building would be done by subcontractors. So this would mean that as a company, a building construction company, you could be a principal contractor, and it would be your responsibility to overlook everything that is happening on a particular site or sites if you are multi-skilled. So what it means is that you would be hiring and firing the subcontractors. You would need to make a provision for the staff that would be on permanent basis. So your management, your supervisory staff, your office people, etc. This also would involve planning for relevant sums of money to be ready, and you need to have at least 6 months monthly expenditure in cash to be able to start moving big projects. But what I really want to concentrate today about is starting small. And for instance, starting with just a few basic people. Let's assume you want to be a builder who is a specialist in refurbishing already built properties which need renovation and then basically upgrading and selling on or renting. And your clients would be landlords or owners, basically owners of a building. And we're talking about domestic buildings here. So, for instance, the first thing that you need to do is plan out your strategies. So, decide on the status of your company. Is it going to be a limited company? Is it going to be a partnership? Is it going to be a business which is registered with HMRC, but it is just business in your name? So, for instance, Mr. Smith Construction registered with HMRC, and basically starting within 3 months, you've got in this respect, you've got 3 months to register before you can, you've got 3 months to register with HMRC. And your labor would then be subject to CIS scheme. What it means is that it is construction industry scheme where the labor part of your services will be taxed in advance. So that is very important to know. If you would choose to be what is called gross contribution business, then obviously that is a different status, and your accountant would explain to you exactly how it works. The CIS scheme, the construction industry scheme, what it really means is that the labor part of the job is pre-taxed, and the tax is paid in advance. So at the end of the financial year, when you do your self-assessment and your annual accounts, that is taken away from your profits. So basically, at the end of the year, you will pay less tax, or you might have the tax refunded. It all depends what would be your annual turnover and how much labor involved. So, but let's go to the beginning. So, decide the status of your company, and I would suggest to look at the possibility of starting a limited company, because if you are really planning to grow your construction business, then that would be a good start. You don't really need to register for VAT immediately because there is a threshold for VAT, and you can actually work VAT free until you get up to £78,000 for 12 months consistent. Some people do voluntary registration, and that obviously is entirely up to you how you wish to do. It depends obviously on the jobs you're going to do, simply because jobs which don't require VAT are very small, and jobs that are requiring VAT registrations are jobs which are costing above £70,000 per project. So, in order to decide the status of your company, the first thing that I suggest that you do is to actually interview minimum 3 accountants. And once you speak to minimum 3 accountants, you will be able to decide which of those accountants is going to be integral part of your business for the future. Choosing the right accountant is absolutely vital for any business, particularly construction business, because there is so many different schemes there. Like there are schemes which are 0 VAT, there are schemes which are 5% VAT, and there are schemes which are 20% VAT. So you need to be aware of that information, and a good accountant will provide you with that information. And once you have decided on the status of the business, you then need to either register it with HMRC if it is just a private business, self-employed, or just a simple partnership. But if you decide that your business is going to be limited company, then you need to register that business with Companies House. And the cost of setting that up depends on who is going to do it for you. You can do it for £15 online by yourself, but then you're going to have just a bare registration and no relevant documents, which are legal requirement with it. So my suggestion is once you choose your accountant would be able to help you with registering your company properly. What I mean properly, what you will get a company registration certificate, you will get shares certificate, you will also get company statutory books and information what your company is able to do. And obviously you will be given the responsibility of the keeping records and so on. The next thing is to think of, again, looking at least 3 different sources of your business insurance. This is absolutely vital in the construction business. You need to be able to insure for public liability, and you need to be able to insure for indemnifying your clients from any damages. Depends again on the size of the company. You will have either 5 million or 10 million pounds cover on both sides, so the liability and the employment liability. So you need to ensure that you have that. Then you can start your business. Obviously, once you register, you need to open a bank account and make sure that specifically when you work as self-employed, you have a separate bank account from your personal. Simply because you need to show the business income and expenditure separately from your personal one. That way it will be clear, that way it will be simple to manage, and you know exactly what is happening in your business account. And again, if it is limited company, the business account needs to be in the limited company name. And if it is self-employed or a simple business setup, again, the name of the business trading as. That is extremely important. If you employ staff directly, you need to be able to, if you have even one member of staff, you need to ensure that you're going to source the right pension supplier, because you need to have the compulsory pension scheme, which is now operating since 2012 in the UK. So you need to have that. The next thing is you need to have either a health and safety consultant that will support your business, or someone, if your business is large, then you can employ someone directly. Alternatively, you can take a training by yourself, relevant training, and so you understand what is happening. But at the same time, once you start employing people, you need to have a H and safety, either consultant, a company that will support your health and safety issues, and someone who will support you with the human resources, as well as engage your accountant in the PAYE scheme to ensure that all of your wages and subcontractor payments are accounted for correctly, and the payments are going on regular basis to the HMRC. Now, as I mentioned, there are several niches of the business, but before I go to it, you need to think of other things. So what you need to do is you need to also make a business plan. You need to add to this business plan a cash flow for your first year. Obviously, it is much easier to start a construction business or any other business if you have already an experience within that industry. If you are completely new to the industry, you need to ensure that your skills are upgraded as soon as possible, and you have the right people supporting you who know exactly what they are doing. So let's start with something small, and let's suppose you are just a general builder. You know a little bit about every skill, so you know how to take things apart within the building that need to be refurbished. You also need to understand the principles of the gabling, the weight that a wall can handle. You need to be able to understand the drawings, architectural drawings. So there is so many things to think about, and you need to know exactly what points you need to look into and remember when you are tendering for a contract for, say, refurbishing a family home. So the first thing you need is you need to be able to work with architects. You need to be able to work with quantity surveyors. You need to be able to work with a structural engineer. You need to be able to work with a building control person. That is a building inspector who come and assess the work and control whether it is done subject to the latest rules and regulations. Do the materials comply with the latest standards? All of that is very, very important, because the construction industry has got a name which is not really perfect. And this is because there is lots of people who are doing the work without really knowing what they are doing, or doing the work not up to standards because they just want to earn the money. And this has given a negative name to the construction industry. So you need to be aware that when you start a business, you are adding to your already existing brand. So you need to think of your values, you need to think of your reasons for why you want to work in the construction industry. You need to have the why, and the why not just describing your final goal in your endeavor, but you need to have the why so that the client will be able to understand that if your why is very strong, then you will do everything to be able to finish the work to the highest standard. But quite often, people will promise lots of things, but they don't deliver. And instead of discussing these issues, they run away. So the industry, the construction industry, is a very fragile type of industry because there are seasons in its existence. And at the moment, as I record this video, the construction industry in the UK is on a quite high level. There is lots of work going on. People are investing in refurbishment, in building new houses, new multi-housing units, new commercial units, and so on. So you need to be able to create your brand in a way that your business will sustain in that very highly competitive business. So you need to be truthful, you need to be open, you need to be able to say, look, I'm sorry, I've made a mistake. You need to be able to be absolutely honest with yourself and with the clients, and also with the people that you are working on the site as well. So starting, let's say we start a general building. You get a family house which need a small extension, and that means that you need to do some work inside and outside to be able to make a one whole final appearance of the project. What you need to remember in this respect is that you need to work very closely with an architect, because if your client comes to you and say, John, I would like you to price me for an extension, single extension, and you say, yeah, no problem, you go and measure and do your own thing, what you want. No. This cannot be. You need to work with people who are best at particular skills. So if there is an extension to be built, you need to have an architect's drawing. So you need to have the drawing before you can even go and visit the site to be able to price it up. You need to have the structural engineer's calculations, because if, let's say, you have to put a beam across a room, you need to be able to know what sort of strength that beam has to be. If you need to put a lintel into the window, you need to know exactly the specification for that lintel. If you are building an extension, you need to know about the groundwork, how does it, what you need to be done, about the foundation, and then to build it up and then roof it up, and so on and so on. So if you don't know, or if you don't understand those things, you need to be able to employ people who know exactly what they are doing and have the building control involved. So people who have got the skills to be able to ensure that the work is done to the right standard, to the specifications. These are vital parts of your business which are going to cost you money. So when you price up a job for a single story extension and refurbishment inside a property, you need to know exactly how much you want to charge for. And the charges are usually including labor and materials. So you need to find yourself the right suppliers who supply a quality materials. You can then open accounts with them eventually. Initially, they will all want you to pay cash on delivery, or you need to go physically to a supplier, say a building merchant, and purchase and pay there and then for the goods. You need to ensure that those goods are according to the specification which are in the drawing, in the structural engineering calculation, and so on. So you need to be able to look after that side, and you need to be able to communicate with the client, the architect, and everyone else involved within the business. If you are looking at starting just a simple business, let's say plastering, and you have the skills for plastering, then again, similar things apply. You need to plan, you need to set the status of it, and then obviously you need to market your business. So in the case of plasterer, you can do small jobs, you can do skimming in new properties. So your marketing strategy would have to be aligned with the niche that you are pursuing. And in the case of plasterer, you would need to speak to the principal contractors. You then tender for the job in many cases. If we are looking at multi-million pounds construction businesses, then you would probably be a subcontractor. So you would need to register through various channels with the construction company and bid for every job that they want you to bid. Quite often, plasterers usually go by a building site and they talk to the person in charge on site, and often are getting jobs that way. Alternatively, they do other ways of marketing. And if we are looking at marketing, there is several important ways. Website today is a must. So you need to be able to be visible on the internet, and on your website have an inquiry form which people would be filling in, and that would go automatically to your email, and you can then contact the potential client and negotiate with them, give them a price and so on. If you are working with a business, construction business, as a subcontractor, you would need to provide your client with subcontractor details. So your company details, you would need to do risk assessment, you will need to comply with the health and safety regulations and provide the necessary information such as your commercial insurance details, and obviously your health and safety preparations and your health and safety policy. So all this is very important. You will most likely need to adhere to the health and safety policies, because if you are working as a subcontractor, the principal contractor will have specific requirements. So you need to wear the right clothing, that is high visibility jackets, headgear, so that would be a helmet, goggles, so that the plaster doesn't spill into your eyes, gloves, safety shoes, and so on. So this is all very important. You also need to remember that if you are employed on self-employed basis by one business, construction business, for instance, then you need to clarify your status with HMRC, because the HMRC in the UK at the moment are very careful with classification of self-employment, and in some cases people are not classified as self-employed. So this again your accountant would be able to help you with. If you are moving up the stage and you decide to be a property developer, there is lots of things that are needed. So as a property developer, again, you choose a niche. It could be a commercial construction and development or domestic construction and development. This is a much bigger picture and demands a different type of planning and demands different type of approach. And I would like to do a separate video onto that. So just to recap, before you start a business, you need to be able to plan. You need to know exactly what you want to do. You need to know exactly which niche you're going to pick up. Decide on the status of the business and then market your business. And the way to market the business is obviously have a website which have an inquiry form, create your profile on social media, make sure that your jobs are photographed, so you build a portfolio of visual documentation for every project that you do, and show that to people. So show it on your website, show it on your social media platforms, and market that. Be able to stay in touch with your clients, because if you have done a small job for your client, if client is satisfied, it is more than likely that the client will come back to you in the future and refer you to their own contact sphere. So that way you will be able to generate referrals, which is the best way to actually get marketed. If you are completely fresh in the construction business or any other business, you will need to build relations. You need to be able to meet people, talk to people, be in touch with them, meet them every so often to discuss things and to see how you can help them and they can help you in your business. It's a time consuming process, but if you are passionate about your business, if you believe that this is the business for you, then you will be able to do all those necessary steps. This is very, very important. The preparation is the foundation of your whole business, your building. So as an example, if you want to build a house, you need to have plans, architectural drawing, structural engineer's report. You need to have the soil tested, you need to have the planning permission, and then you can hire the contractor who will carry out the preparation of the site, setting up everything, and obviously construct the building as per architect's drawing. So when you want to start a business, you do exactly the same. You plan, you draw your plans, that is your business plan, your cash flow, your strategies, your marketing strategies, setting up the status of your business and your bank account, and then you go into the field and do what you are set to do. And remember, construction business, it's a very competitive area, and you really need to be at the top of your skills. You need to be at the top of your communication abilities, and you need to be having a set of values and your why. Construction industry is a very tough and competitive business, and unless you set it right and do the work right and be proud of it, you will not be able to stay in this business, because before or later somebody is going to push you out. So start strong, start honest, and you will be able to stand in the business for as many years as you wish, build upon it, and grow into a big industrial company that is proud of what they are doing. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments. Below this video, you will see my email address. I will be happy to spend an hour with you pro bono to help you exactly with the questions, with the setting up, and preparing the strategies for your business. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this is going to be helpful for you. Thank you.